It's the boy, Bubba Lutz, coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba Lutz. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the goal.
Welcome back, Bubba Bunch, to another edition of the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast. It is episode 253, and we are reviewing the Cowboys versus Falcons game in Week 10. Just an obliteration of the Atlanta Falcons. Some would say, if you follow my Twitter, that the Falcons were the sacrificial lamb, say it again, lamb of the Dallas Cowboys in order to get back into the rhythm, get back into the swing of things. And the reason why I say lamb and emphasize the lamb is because it was a big day for CeeDee Lamb, the number one receiver in Dallas right now. Look, if you go back to the preview, I think that I should get an Academy Award for my performance in that preview, stating what should we expect from this Cowboys team. It's not a matter of if they are able to blow out the Atlanta Falcons. It's whether or not they were willing to blow out the Falcons. Like, this was the Cowboys game to win or lose. This was a matter of how would they show up after a brutalizing defeat to the Denver Broncos just a week ago. You are much more talented. You're much more prepared, more well-coached, experienced, all these different adjectives you can use for the Dallas Cowboys. But they are, hands down, on paper, the better team. They are the better football team. And after what Week 9 was in the NFL, and even you can consider that in Week 10 as well, because of some teams that didn't show up or had another bad week, this was a really good opportunity for the Dallas Cowboys to not only get the win, get back into the swing of things, come off the bad loss, but to make a statement. And I said in that preview, you got to make a statement here. I said 41-17. I said you got to beat them in every facet of the game for 60 straight minutes. I was a little bit wrong there because it did not take 60 minutes to beat this football team. It took about 35 minutes to beat this football team. But in general, this team from start to finish was the better football team, played like the better football team, and god damn it, they look like one of the best teams in the NFL. And if you disagree with that, that's fine. I'm not saying that they're the best team in the NFL. I keep hearing them. You should consider the Cowboys the most balanced team in the NFL. I would say, let's slow it down a little bit. And some would say that they are the best team in the NFL right now with the best offense. I would maybe slow it down a little bit there. But my best analogy for the Dallas Cowboys right now is that when we consider the best teams in the NFL, they have entered the conversation. They may have entered the conversation a few weeks ago, but I say after this win, this is exactly what you wanted to see out of the Cowboys after the Denver Broncos game. This is exactly who the Cowboys are. They are pissed off and they are aggressive. And there are some things, it's not even the major things in this football game that made me think that of Mike McCarthy may not be the worst case scenario for this football team. But maybe he's got it on lock. Maybe he understands what this locker room is and who they are. And there's some silly things outside of the game that we can talk about. But overall, man, this was exactly what I wanted to see out of the Cowboys. And not only was I excited, impressed, I was proud of this football team. Proud to cheer on a locked-in, focused team that is tunnel visioned into winning a championship. This is not a team that's going to win the division and then see where it goes. Yes, we've talked about how they did not do everything in trade deadline, not everything in free agency. And there are some things in this game that I can mention that with, especially Connor Williams, because that is still an issue. However, to make the most of what you have, I'd say the Cowboys are doing that. And even some of the things that I've bashed on the entire season. Hey, you know what? What if Anthony Brown's going to be all right? What if Jordan Lewis, who had one of the best games of his career, a stellar day for him, what if he's all right? You know what? He took care of Kyle Pitts. You're talking about a over 220, 230 pound tight end / wide receiver with all the traits of a Hall of Famer to be. And on back-to-back plays of a 3rd and 7 and a 4th and 7 that determined really the rest of the game and the sequences after that for the Dallas Cowboys, he batted those balls on lockdown defending both times. Back-to-back plays, he did that. And overall, better day for Trevon Diggs with the interception. Gets back into the swing of things there. Anthony Brown bobbled that interception and fought his way through it, but also a great day just as far as defending goes. Micah Parsons as the edge rusher. That man can do everything, right? And offensively, the receivers looked healthier. They looked better. And you could see with CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and then the return of Michael Gallup. He did have that drop that could have been big for a touchdown potentially. But other than that, we can get into the 4th down conversions, and he was a part of that. But good to have him back. You could tell that this offense is scarier and more determined. They're pissed off now. And you could see that in their play. Ezekiel Elliott getting those 2 touchdowns, but really more of his blocking ability and doing everything it took to get the drive going or continue that drive on that 4th down, I believe, to Michael Gallup. It was that big chunk play on the left sideline. Dak has to roll out, but it's a big block by Ezekiel Elliott, and it extends that play. I mean, without that, Dak gets blown up because it's Terrence Steele's side. And I will say Terrence Steele played better. I did think he got a lot more help. But Lyle Collins, Zach Martin, no issues. You never heard of anything going on their side of the line, and that's a great thing. But look, man, like the stats speak for themselves. But when you start off with that drive, they went 6 games without scoring a touchdown on the first drive after really getting rid of that huge streak or that long streak that went, years really of not scoring on that first drive. They get it going. And I said it on the preview. I forgot about this. I said on the preview that if they do win the coin toss, elect to receive. Be aggressive here and say, we're going to determine the pace of this football game, and we're going to score first to give you that punch in the face. How do you react, Atlanta? And that's exactly what they did. They elect to receive a good pickup on the kickoff return and a good field position, and they just went out there. They didn't do the blow-up play on the first play of the game, really, but it was more of just setting the tone and saying, this is what we're going to do all day. How are you going to answer? And they answer with a field goal, but then after that 4th and 7 by the Atlanta Falcons on the Cowboys side of the field, and I was shocked by it, considering that they have a really good kicker in Younghoe Koo, who was on my fantasy team. Sadly, he didn't get much playing time, but it was surprising for them to go for it on that 4th and 7, and considering that maybe they used the blueprint, as Vic Fangio would say, of beating the Cowboys. They said, we got to be aggressive too, and based on what we saw in our defense the first drive, we're going to probably go for a blowout here, or for a shootout, I should say. And we gotta be aggressive too. And huge stop by the Cowboys defense to get off the field. In total, 3rd down conversions or 3rd down efficiency, the Atlanta Falcons only 1 of 11. They had 11 first downs this entire game, even with the blowout at the end. And with their second teamers going out, Josh Rosen, the guy from Arkansas as well, or Texas A&M, I couldn't remember. But even with those guys out there and the Cowboys playing prevent defense, they didn't get anything going. And it looked like the Atlanta Falcons were the Cowboys from the Denver Broncos game. It just looked like it was just not their day. They couldn't get anything going on the running game. Cordell Patterson goes out early in this game as well. And really, I want to look into this because I don't think people are talking about this enough, and I hope that some of you agree with me on this, is that don't you feel like a little bit of luck is going the Cowboys' way throughout these games? And I know that there's examples of it. Maybe I just can't get it to just get it going on like in my head right now. But dynamic players, playmakers, or difference makers for the opposing teams, like Cordell Patterson, guys like that, they get hurt. They get hurt in these games. In the Giants game, you had Saquon Barkley go out with that sprained ankle. In this game, you have Cordell Patterson. Guys that the Cowboys would have a lot of difficulty defending against. They get the injury bug. And maybe if you're an opposing team, you're like, oh man, I don't want to go play Dallas because one of us is going to get hurt. This is a trend. This is a continuation throughout the season that it's like the Manning cast curse, you know? Like if you go on the Manning cast, you're going to get hurt the next week or something bad happens to you. It's the Madden curse, but maybe it's the Cowboys curse that's not affecting them. It's affecting the other team. So I'll look into that a little bit more. And if I start to see a pattern, I might do a video on it. But when Cordell Patterson went out in this game, I said, oh, this changes the entirety of this game because now you have Wayne Gallman as your starting running back. And we thought that Mike Davis, after his great run with the Carolina Panthers, he would come into Atlanta and take over as the running back. But Cordell Patterson took over. And without him, I'm not really scared of Wayne Gallman. I was terrified of Cordell Patterson because that's a big man. 220, running back, tall, strong, can catch, can run. I don't think the Cowboys can tackle that man. I really don't think so. They'll have difficulty doing so. He's out in this game. So Matt Ryan has to settle with Kyle Pitts. And after that, what else you got? You really don't have much. And once you start to see the game play out, it was just a matter of how far would the Cowboys go? How far would they go? And once it got to 28-3, don't you think a little like all of us as Cowboys fans or just NFL fans in general thinking, well, the Falcons gave up a 28-3 lead. The game last year where the Falcons gave up that lead against the Cowboys and it turned into that watermelon kick. The Cowboys win that game. Oh, guess who the Falcons play in just a few days after the Cowboys game? The Patriots, who they gave up that 28-3 lead to. So I was looking at this game and I said, you know what? Cowboys, you're doing great. I love you. But don't make it 28-3 at the half. Please don't. Really, I'd really appreciate it if you didn't. Well, they just shut me right up because not only did they make it 28-3 at the half, but they took timeouts, which this is a difference that I saw in Mike McCarthy. What we've seen the mistakes he's made earlier in the season to where he's had 3 timeouts. No one used timeouts in this first half. And then the Falcons don't get anything going on that drive after 28-3. And then the Cowboys take that first timeout and you're like, well, the Mike McCarthy from a few weeks ago wouldn't have taken that timeout. He didn't take that timeout. Forget that game. It was maybe Carolina. Was it Carolina? I may be wrong with that. But, you know, one of these games where it's like you could have used that timeout. You had all these timeouts and you could have had time to get another possession, get 3 more points on the board, and you didn't do it. You just settled to go into the locker room at half. But they use the timeouts, and guess what they do on that punt? They block it. I've gone for John Fossil's head. I've gone for Bones' head, and I said this guy should be fired. He has been doing a terrible job. Mike McCarthy said in the press conference, and I will say I agree with him, that the best thing that the Cowboys have done this past month really is special teams, and I can agree with that. I've actually seen so much improvement in the special teams unit, not just in the block punts. You know, like they've had more block punts since like 2012. I don't know. Like I have not seen a lot of block punts in my time as a Cowboys fan, and I've been a Cowboys fan my entire life. I've seen more in the past like month or two than I've seen my entire lifetime. That's great. That's awesome. This unit is not only just doing their job, which they haven't been able to do a lot of these years. Not only are they doing that job, they're excelling in their job. You know, they actually have playmakers. They actually have guys that are trying to make a difference, trying to make that extra effort. Malik Turner, Nashad Wright. And I'd say that if you really want to hone in on the special teams being, I wouldn't say elite, but really like to the level of like you got to watch out for them because they can make all the difference in the world. It's 1/3 of the game. If they can get just a little bit better in the return game, kickoff or punt return, they switch off with Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Cedric Wilson. I'm just saying, man, maybe they're saving up for a later part of the season. Remember the Steelers game where Cedric Wilson had that trick play, and it actually worked in their favor to really almost find themselves winning that football game when the season was over. Maybe we're saving up for that. Maybe Bones is saving for a time to where the special teams unit comes up big when they need it the most. You know, right now they're just doing great things, and they get that punt blocked and they get in the end zone. It's 34-3, I believe. I at that moment, I think at that moment, that's when I knew this is going to get ugly. Like, this was going to get ugly for the Atlanta Falcons. And in that moment, after they scored that punt return, or that punt blocked for a return, it was the Atlanta Falcons getting the ball back and not getting much on that first down, and the Cowboys taking that last timeout. There was no reason to take really that timeout. You know, it was one, and then they're just going to run the clock down, just go to the locker room because they're down 34-3. It was going to be, or is it 36-3? Excuse me. I just looked at the score. It's right here. But when he took that timeout, and you look at Mike McCarthy, and you say, he looks pissed off. Everybody looks pissed off, and Mike McCarthy's going for blood. And then they turn the camera to Arthur Smith. And you could you could read his lips to after they took that timeout. He's like, why did they take that timeout? He was so confused and pissed off for the wrong reasons. But this was a signal for Mike McCarthy to his team that says, we're going to be relentless. We're not going to let them get anything today. They're going to work for everything, much like we're going to work for everything today as well. But we're going to make it as difficult as possible for them to get anything going. And even with a meaningless timeout at the end of the half, where they're just going to run it for the next 2 downs, we're going to make them know who we are. They came to our house. We're going to piss them off. We're just going to get under their skin. And that's what that last timeout meant to me. And it's not a big thing at the end of the day. It doesn't mean anything on the scoreboard. But God damn it, after that, I said, they might go for 50. They might go for 50 here. Because, dear God, get out of their way. And that is exactly what I wanted to see out of this Cowboys team. I wanted the Falcons to regret ever making that trip to Dallas. You're not going to come into AT&T Stadium that now has that home field advantage, that has that vibe and just that energy that it's never had before. If you want to come in here, you better play your best football, because we're going to play our best football. You got us on the wrong week, Atlanta. You got us on the wrong week. You are the sacrificial CD Lamb, some would say. CeeDee Lamb, 6 receptions, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dak Prescott back in form, and he looked damn good. Looked damn good. The best quarterback statistically this past weekend, and it showed. 24-31, efficient, 296 yards, 2 touchdowns. They were dimes. The 4th down conversions, which I haven't even spoken about. Mike McCarthy, way to stick to your guns. That 4th and 7. Where, you get that conversion with Michael Gallup, but you are well into field goal range with your new kicker, Liam. I looked at my mom, I was like, Mom, I think you should take the points here. They're doing good. Make it 10-3. I'm okay with these points here, but credit to Mike McCarthy and this offense to be aggressive here, set the tone and say, this is how we're going to play the rest of the way. We're not going to just go back on our word. Statistically, this doesn't make all the sense in the world, but we have to lay our foot down and say, we're not going to just, go back and play conservative, kick a field goal because we didn't get the 4th down conversions last week. We didn't get them last week, and we were terrible in the play calling, terrible in the execution. We're better in execution this week. And we're going to stick to our guns. Be the same identity that we've been all year long, that's given us success in 6 out of 8 times. In 6 out of the 8 games we've had the success on 4th down. Why should we go back on our word? We should just continue to do our thing. And that's exactly what they did. And Dak Prescott, I felt like the calf strain and just a little bit of rust last week was a factor, because some of the throws he was making, man, he had some... He missed some throws. I will say that. There was the slant route that almost got picked off that could have changed the game. He also had that Michael Gallup drop, but it was also a little bit behind. So a little bit of credit goes both ways. And But overall, some of the throws that Dak was making, the Michael Gallup one on the run, which I thought he could have ran in, but whatever. Maybe he's just not comfortable running it right now. We'll see later in this game that that's not true. And then the CeeDee Lamb just floater to CeeDee Lamb before he even broke his route was amazing. That's just great communication, great trust in your wide receiver. And that's when you knew, fourth down conversions and then that touchdown. You just knew that the Cowboys were just on point all day long. And they were 3 of 3 on fourth down as well, which was amazing. Really, if we're talking about something negative when it comes to this football game, Connor Williams, I don't know how you think that that's a starter in the NFL, but we're at this point of the season to where it really doesn't matter. Connor McGovern was my guy to play left guard, but turns out he's just going to play every other position. This man is lining up as a receiver on a bubble screen, and he gets like 17 yards for CeeDee Lamb. He lines up as a fullback, and then he tricks the defense into thinking they're going to go left, but Zeke just takes it up the middle for that touchdown. Connor McGovern is going to end up this year scoring a touchdown, whether that's with a pass or with a run. Kellen Moore is using Connor McGovern as his own Taysom Hill, and I love it. I love every second of it. But at some point this season, you're going to see Connor McGovern in the end zone with that ball, and it's going to be really fun. The play that got brought back because of a penalty, the Cedric Wilson Wildcat, but given to Tony Pollard. Or was it given to Tony Pollard? I can't remember, but it was brought back because of a penalty. That was amazing. I really hope to see that, because when I saw Cedric Wilson there, I was like, what are we doing? I've never seen this before. And I said that in the preview too. I hate to, pat myself on the back and just give myself all the credit in the world, but I also said that Kellen Moore, just have some fun out there. If you're up by 30, which they were at some points in this game, have some fun with it. Just do whatever you want to do, and just bring back a nice little energy to this offense and the play calling. And that's exactly what they did. I went back to the positives. Defensively, it helped that Cordell Patterson was out of this game. Jordan Lewis had himself a career day. Anthony Brown had a really good day. Trayvon Diggs had a better day. Slow start that first drive for the Atlanta Falcons, where they give up a good amount of chunk yardage on some plays. I think that's how the Cowboys are going to identify themselves. Dan Quinn is going to look at that first drive. If they run down the field, they're going to be like, okay, this is what they were successful in. They're going to continue doing this. And then later on, they're not going to have that same success. So they will give up some plays at the beginning. Just as far as weathering the storm and absorbing those big plays is what matters for Dan Quinn against his former team. But going forward, that's what you're going to see. What else? Man, I can't. I don't think this defense is going to play like this every single week, but credit to them against experienced veteran quarterbacks so far. They've done a very nice job, whether that's Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, guys that have been around the block and have played against the Cowboys before and had success before. They didn't have that same success. I think if you ask these guys, if you ask these quarterbacks that are going against the Cowboys and have seen them multiple times a year or maybe multiple times seasons, they will say, they gave us different looks. They really did. I credit the Atlanta Falcons for trying different things, because they did try a lot of motion. They had the Cowboys communicate defensively, and they had some success early on with that, to where they're just doing a lot of motion and just a lot of things, to where they changed it up at the line of scrimmage, to where the Cowboys needed to work for it. And credit to them. I am impressed by every facet of this football team right now. And it gets them really, really confident. I wouldn't say cocky, because I think they're past the point of saying oh, we're just the best. No, we've seen that we're going to carry this Denver Broncos game on our backs as far as just a learning experience, rather than just a turmoil of oh my God, we're going to freak out now because we had one bad game. This was a statement win for them, and they needed that. It wasn't a must win, but I think this gives you a different perspective of what the Cowboys are as a culture, as a locker room, as an organization going forward. this is a different football team. This is a very different football team, and I am excited. I've been excited, and I'm going to continue to be excited going forward. And this Kansas City game just comes at a really great time. Kansas City getting a huge win against the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday Night Football, looking like their former selves. Now they go against the Dallas Cowboys, one of the hottest teams in football. Let's see if the Kansas City Chiefs show up as their best versions of themselves. But man, oh man, that game next week is huge for the Cowboys. It really is. And then you got to see the Raiders as well in that Sunday night game where they only play them only 4 days later. I can't tell you anything else about this football game because even when the backups came in, when Josh Rosen, who I love Josh Rosen, but he did not look good. He gave up that pick, and it was a bad decision for him. He should have ran it on that play. I don't know what else to say. This team checked off all the boxes as far as a contender, except for Connor Williams. That's all I got to say. Terrence Steele, I don't know if he's going to be a starter next week. I really don't think so. Lyle Collins played phenomenally, and Tyron Smith looks to be back this week. I don't know if they're going to hold him for another game because they're playing in Thanksgiving, so they may save him for that game. Overall, though, this is a bad football team, ladies and gentlemen. They are in the conversation in Super Bowl contenders. I will say that. And this may not be the last time we're talking about the Cowboys this week. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast, episode 253 in the books. If I forgot to talk about anything, make sure to leave it in the comments. Make sure to put... well, do we have comments on Apple Podcasts? I don't know. Hit me up on Twitter, though. Hit me up on Instagram. You can always do that. And I'll mention that. And I'll shout you out the next time that we do anything about the Cowboys. So follow, subscribe on every platform that you get this podcast from. Make sure to share with your friends. Get the word out. I think we're really doing great things here. And we're only going to get better from this point forward. So thank you so much, guys, for listening, for watching. And we'll see you next time on the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast.
Yeah, hold on. Tell me who's your top 5 quarterbacks right now, dead or alive, huh? And how much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried